blame you. Hang on, I blame you for not. I blame you for not doing more.
Theresa May was the Home Secretary when crime came down by a third. You accuse me of blaming
you for the terror attacks. I did not do that. I am blaming Theresa May when she was...
Well, you sounded like you were.
I am blaming Theresa May when she was Home Secretary for slashing our police, which many people believe damaged our ability to get intelligence on the ground in local communities. I'm also blaming your government for the abject failure to detect 2 of these 3 London terrorists. One was on a TV documentary boasting about being the jihadi next door, waving ISIS flags. The other one actually says, I'm going to be a terrorist. So yeah, when it comes to blaming people for not catching these people before they do what they do, yes, I am blaming you, I'm blaming your government, and I want some answers. So stop distracting by saying I'm blaming you for what they did. I'm blaming you for not stopping them before they did it.
So you're not allowed to talk on your show. You're filling up the interview time, Piers. I know you like the sound of your own voice. But in all seriousness, Theresa May was the Home Secretary when crime fell by a third. She was one of the most successful Home Secretaries in history. She reformed the police. We've got a much more efficient police now. She has spent more money on counter-terrorism, on MI5, MI6, GCHQ, as well as counter-terrorism police. And you saw on Saturday how effective that was. Within 8 minutes of receiving the first call that something terrible was happening, 3 terror suspects were dead, killed by armed police. That's the kind of response that is unique in the world.
They'd already killed 7 people. They'd already killed 7 people and severely injured dozens more. That's not a success. Yes, the police responded well, but it's not a success that this action happened, is it? It's an abject failure, and it follows one on Westminster Bridge, and it follows one in Manchester. This country is under attack, and I don't think it's good enough to simply say Theresa May's done a great job. Are you saying to us, before we go to the polls tomorrow, let's be very clear, Theresa May cut the police force by 20,000, right? Cut the armed police by 1,500. Are you saying there is now no need to bring those police back that she removed? Because we already know that she's bringing back more armed police. Will she be restoring the 20,000 that she cut?
We protected the police budget since 2015, at a time when Andy Burnham was Shadow Home Secretary and the Labour Party said the police could manage 10% more cuts, which we didn't implement. We said the police budget should be protected. It is protected up to 2020. It's obviously up to individual chief constables and police and crime commissioners how they deploy those resources in different ways. Clearly, there is a need for more armed police. We have funded those extra armed police. I think what's important is that we clearly live in a world where things are increasingly dangerous. You need a government that has a plan to fight terrorism. That was the plan that Theresa May has been setting out, not just last night with the ideas she set out there, but with other ideas such as dealing with the internet. Hang on, Piers asked a very long question, so can I have, as he does, can I give the chance to answer it fully? What we need at the election tomorrow is a government, as we have now, with a plan to deal with terrorism. And I'm genuinely surprised at what's happened overnight, which is that Labour and the Liberal Democrats have said, oh, this is all terrible, this is attacking human rights, which it isn't. I'm quite surprised that what the Prime Minister said yesterday isn't uncontroversial, because actually we all feel the same about this.
Yes.
We all want our streets to be as safe as possible.
We definitely all think it's terrible. She's also the Home Secretary who scrapped control orders for terrorists. Out of the 400 returning jihadis who've been out fighting in Syria and Iraq, only 1 has been subject to an exclusion order. The police numbers have been cut by 20,000. Somebody who was on an EU-wide watch list has been allowed into the UK, and there have been 3 terror attacks since she's PM. She also, in the manifesto, the Conservatives say that they would not withdraw from the EU Human Rights Convention, and now she's changed her mind about that as well. The record isn't great.
No, she hasn't. No, that's just wrong. There are about 5 questions in there. Let's start with the last one. We've not said we'd withdraw from the European Convention on Human Rights. We've said if there are ways in which it is hindering the fight against terrorism, which I think we all agree is of paramount importance, then we will derogate from it. That's been done in the past by other countries. The French asked if they could do it after the terrible attacks in Paris. The Irish did it in the past when the IRA troubles were at their height. So absolutely you can remain a member of the European Convention on Human Rights and continue and have effective anti-terrorist proposals. So that's not fair. As I say, what you need is a coherent plan, and the temporary exclusion orders you mentioned, that's only one of the suite of powers that the government has to make sure that people perhaps can't come into this country. We've actually excluded something like 116,000 people at the border since 2010, of whom 6,000, incidentally, are European Union citizens. So those who say our borders have always been unsafe, that's not true. Obviously, we will have more powers to do that after Brexit.
Final question, I'll make it short so that you don't get offended. Why, on the day that terrorism was the front...
your time.
Well, why on the day when terrorism was the front page of every paper as the major story as it has been all week, why are you, the guy in charge of pensions, being shoved out by the government and not the Prime Minister or the Home Secretary, neither of whom seem prepared to want to come and face the music on this stuff? Why have you been thrown under the bus?
The Prime Minister is all around the country today. She's meeting a vast range of people. She's travelling up and down the country, as you would expect on the last day of an election campaign. We are a team inside the Conservative Party, and we all represent the government. And I am very, very happy to stand here and point out, first of all, what a good Home Secretary Theresa May was, and also that she is, unlike Jeremy Corbyn, she's the person with a plan to deal with terrorism, as well as the plans to deal with all the other big issues that Britain are facing. And that's the choice that people will be making tomorrow morning. Do they want, by Friday morning, Jeremy Corbyn as Prime Minister, Diane Abbott as Home Secretary, dealing with the anti-terrorism fight? I think people will come to the very sensible conclusion that they would prefer Theresa May and her team dealing with that.
There's a large digger in the background behind you that's been moving seamlessly behind your head. We don't know what that means, whether it's a metaphor for anything, but we appreciate you coming to Face the Music. Theresa May, the Prime Minister...
It means that Ashford is flourishing and we're developing our industry and building new housing in this prosperous town in a prosperous country.
It doesn't mean you were just digging a bigger hole as the interview went on then. Good, I'm glad we got that straight. I do thank Theresa May. We haven't seen her on the entire campaign on this show. There's a word for that, bottle job. But thank you, Mr. Green. We appreciate it.